with a smile. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Conversation. We are currently playing the author's favorite musical piece, and then we're going to go into the interview. Welcome to this conversation with Stephanie Crumpet, your host, and Nicole Littlejohn, our guest this morning. All right. And so that was just a mini intro. So you can tell when you hear a musical piece like this, you know that somebody is in deep thought, somebody is getting some revelation and inspiration to write because it's actually saying musical piece to listen while you're studying and writing. So we have a very interesting lady in the room this morning. She is Nicole Littlejohn. I'm going to ask her to just introduce herself and tell us who is Nicole Littlejohn. Welcome to the conversation.
Thank you for having me. This is very nice. Hi, everyone.
Yes, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. So, my name is Nicole, Nicole Littlejohn. Um, I am a wife, a mother, and recently a writer. I live in Chile. I live here with my family. Um, I started writing when I was really very young. I loved to write. I also love to read. I read a lot. The book that my first book actually, it took me 20 years to publish. I started writing it when I was in high school. And I promised myself that I would not write anything else until that book was finished. Now it's finished. When I finished that book, I wrote my second book in under a month. So that's me in a nutshell. I have lots of interests outside of writing, but of course, writing is going to be my passion. I'm studying Mandarin Chinese. I tried playing the guitar. I love learning. I love exploring, and yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I'd
Well,
say.
that's quite an interesting piece because the fact that you're in Chile and you're learning Mandarin, it means that you're getting ready to keep up with the times because as the world power changes, it is always
Mhm.
key to understand the language of the ruling trade company. A lot of people don't
Mm,
pay that much attention, but if you understand the language of the country that is large on trade, then you are
mm,
fit to do business. You're ready to be a translator for government, for
mhm,
all different companies, because people need to speak the language of the trader. People need to
mhm,
speak the language of those industry. And so we know China is actually one of the leading nation as it relates to industry and production and sales and products. And so that is very interesting. So tell me, what language do you speak in Chile?
Spanish. Spanish. I am an English teacher. I teach ESL. But my husband is Chilean, so we speak Spanish and English. But everyone outside of these four walls speaks Spanish, and Chilean Spanish is quite challenging. Yeah. Hmm.
So it's mixed with a little or more European Spanish than Cuba,
No,
right?
I would say that for everyone, even for the other Latinos from other countries, they find the Chilean
Right.
Spanish incredibly difficult because they talk really fast. They eat most of the words, um, and they just dance to their own rhythm. It is you have to experience it to really feel it because, and then of course you have regular Chilean Spanish, you have Spanish, then you have Chilean Spanish, and then of course you have dialects here because there are also a lot of indigenous peoples living here
So,
and speaking their language. Where I live in the country, which means that I live around the Wassos or country people, and they also have their own language, and it takes some time to understand that as well. Yeah, so it is an adventure. It is an adventure, but I enjoy languages in general because I think that that is one way for you to connect with people in a real sense. So we can all speak English
real,
as a
yes,
as yeah, as a second language, but if you're able to communicate with someone in their own language, it has
I'm
so
saying.
much more value. So much more
I
value.
respect that. Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree with you. When I was on missions in the British Virgin Island, though it's in the Caribbean, majority of the people there spoke Spanish
Mm,
because they the men from that island went down into Santo Domingo after slavery was abolished. And so
mhm,
they got a lot of children in that region. And so these grandchildren and great grandchildren returned to the nation because they have automatic citizenship to be this
mhm,
daughter, granddaughter of a former islander. And
mhm.
Spanish was a regular way of life. And my kids in high school told me that the Spanish kids failed Spanish in high school.
Oh,
Because
that is very possible. That
yeah,
it's
yeah,
possible. It's
yeah,
possible.
yeah,
It's possible
yeah,
because sometimes also with formal education there are, you can fall through the cracks. Okay, and speaking a language and actually producing an academic piece tends to be a bit tricky. Also, when I was doing Spanish in high school, the way they taught Spanish was not effective at all. At all. Now I am, I would say advanced.
in
I would say
Spanish.
advanced in Spanish, but I spent years stuck in Serie Star,
Mm-hmm.
which is the same as to be. Okay,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
have I've met persons here that are still stuck in to be, but
To
that is
be
not how you can. That's I would say it's not an effective way to teach the language. When I started UE, all my teachers were native Spanish speakers, and they didn't just teach the language in a vacuum. Okay, I learned about the dance, the music, the people, the
everything. So
food,
it came alive.
everything. Yes, exactly. So I wasn't just stuck in Serie Star. Yeah,
Yes. All of
everything
your
made sense.
all I can remember is they're telling you us Amos Ace as that's all you could remember. They're telling you. So even after
Yeah.
20 years out of high school, you can still remember that's all because they may have gone to college, learn it, but they were not speaking it, so they were only able to give
Mhm.
you what the book says, you know. But
Exactly. And the book
quite
is it's very mathematical. Ugh,
yes,
and
yes,
I'm
yes,
no,
yes.
no.
So I believe, like persons like you, it is good for you to create like programs to help children in the Caribbean, especially because you make mention of UE, so you could bridge a gap
Mhm.
with making it come alive, you know, making the language come alive. So I encourage persons to do like small YouTube videos, like a few minutes, just to show certain things. So I'm giving you a little piece right here to make it
Mhm.
come alive because
Yeah.
people need to learn the language and now more than ever, like with the massive migration of Spanish people to America, they now have to have a Spanish person almost in every company because they
Mhm.
need to be able to communicate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. So, which high school did you attend, Nicole?
I grew up in Kingston, so I attended for the first 3 years of high school. I went to a traditional Catholic school, but high school for me started at 10th grade when I moved to St. Elizabeth and I went to the Black River High School and sixth form. That's when I
Mm.
found my people, my tribe, my family. Those persons were just awesome, awesome. We spent a lot of time talking, laughing. The teachers were amazing. That was, or rather, Black River High is where I consider my high school experience.
You are the first person I am meeting personally from that high school. I actually went to Manchester High School.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Nice, nice.
I went to Manchester High School. So, Spanish in those days, a lot of people in my time spoke Spanish and majored in Spanish. But somehow, after a while, that influence, those older set of teachers, retired and the language wasn't, pushed as before until now. But it's very interesting though for a Jamaican. I must say, you're a Jamaican by birth, right? For a
Yes, yes.
Jamaican to be living in Chile, speaking English, speaking Spanish, learning languages, I believe you would need to go all the way. So even from Chile, you can still represent Jamaica on governmental matters. Yeah,
Oh, yes, actually.
yes,
Definitely,
yes,
definitely,
yes,
definitely. Yeah.
yeah. You
Hmm.
can you can bridge a lot of gaps right there with the Foreign Affairs Department. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
think wide, think wide. All right.
I'm I'm actually also the Latin American rep for the GJDC, which is the Global Jamaican Diaspora Council. So, hi everyone.
Hello, everyone out there. All right. Well, this is something quite interesting. Recently, the Jamaican government came to Florida and
Hmm.
they were at this health fair trying to get Jamaicans all their documents, because since COVID, many people didn't get to travel back home. And so
Hmm.
the passport department, the RGD, the banks were
Hmm.
here.
Hmm.
And so
Amazing.
I decided to go because my kids' passport were in Jamaica for quite some time and they needed it for other matters. So
Hmm.
I walk up to this counter and I saw the counter that it was a diaspora counter that represented Jamaica in every single area to do business, from land, from funeral to shopping, whatever. And I walk up to the
Wow.
lady and I said to her, I'd like to be an agent. She said, Really? I said, Yeah. I said, I'd like to be an agent for you here in Florida. Couple weeks followed, I saw like maybe a 13-page document came from the lawyer to officially give
Nice.
me the permission to be the one of the representative here in Florida for the integrated diaspora service for all
Hmm.
Jamaicans living in Florida. I'm able to process their passport, everything, their driver's license, everything. Just think of everything: buying land,
Wow.
paying taxes, everything. So I'm still in the learning stage of
Wow.
it. Still trying to meet people and be a part of Jamaican
Hmm.
events, but it is key. Um, the two languages that I am positioning myself to go into
Hmm.
deeper is actually Spanish and Chinese and Mandarin. Yeah, those are the two
Hmm.
languages that
Hmm.
I am looking to move into because those are the two in many trade. The Spanish and the Chinese are moving in a direction that you need to
Hmm.
understand the language. You go into meetings, they're speaking fast, and you're missing a lot of stuff unless you have the
Yes.
translator there to do it for you. So
But even so, for me, my motivation for Mandarin was not necessarily based on a commercial idea.
purpose, right?
For me, what happened was I at the start of COVID,
Mm-hmm.
everyone started discriminating the
Yep.
Chinese.
Yep,
And I
yep, yep.
didn't appreciate that. I didn't like
Mm,
that. Okay.
mm,
These were persons who lived with us, worked with us. They've always been our neighbors. And I
right.
didn't appreciate this change. Okay. And I started to investigate, and I realized, or based on my observations, I thought that the Chinese, they tend not to integrate as well wherever
Mm,
they go
yep, yep,
because
yep.
of so many differences in culture, in history, and the fundamental for me was the language. So they tend to have an issue speaking, yeah, and that
Mm-hmm.
creates a barrier. So
Right.
what I chose to do is that if you don't speak to me, I'm
I
going to speak to
see
you.
you.
So there are billions of people that I have now opened myself to. The culture is amazing. I love Mandarin. I don't have a teacher, but I do find it quite impressive. I will even venture that Mandarin is easier for me, at least. I don't want to be attacked, but it's easier for me than Spanish and English. Okay. I find it really, really simple. At least for now. I don't think I won't say that I'm fluent or anything like that. I've just started scratching the surface,
Yes,
but
yes.
it makes sense. The language simply makes sense to me. Yeah. So for me, it was more about connecting with people, learning about their culture, their history, their lives, their struggles. Yeah. So instead of simply ignoring billions of people,
Yes. Yeah.
reach out and make the connection, be the change that you want to see. So that was my motivation, or that is my motivation for learning Mandarin. I have learned so very much on this journey, and I've been able to make so many connections with people. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's been wonderful. It's been absolutely wonderful.
I hear my son in this story. During the pandemic, he
Hmm.
decided he wanted to learn Korean. He was, I think,
Oh.
19 at the time,
Hmm.
and he said he was able to unscramble their codes in terms of what we call the alphabet. He said
Right, right,
he looked
right.
at it and he was able to understand why the two strokes, the three strokes, all of
Mm,
that, whatever. He sat for days, looked at it, did the history why they created it so
mhm,
simple, and he spent hours, hours learning the concepts, the main
mhm.
stuff, logged on to a YouTuber family who was Korean. They added him to their WhatsApp. They took him on tours virtually with them as they
Yes,
traveled. They made it
yes,
part of their culture. He he
yes.
he knows basically the name of the streets in Korea just by traveling with them. And so instead of just trying to
Yeah.
say good morning, good evening, where's the bathroom, where's it this, where's it that, he
Hmm.
was able
Hmm.
to speak the language. And so when
Yeah.
we love Asian food more after Jamaican, Asian food is our most cooked meal in the home. And when we
Mm-hmm.
go to Asian restaurants, he speaks to them in
Oh
their language, and they are
my God.
way to see I'm gonna say to see a black man speaking their language when the waiters come to take the order and he speak to them in their language, they run back literally to the
Yeah,
kitchen to
yeah.
tell
They're
the
happy.
chefs that
They're
a man
happy.
out there is speaking their language, and you'll see the staff come out to the door looking.
Yeah, you've made an effort to make a meaningful connection with people.
Yeah,
If you For me, living in Chile, I get bombarded by Spanish all day every day. If someone comes over and just try to speak to me in English, it's like my brain relaxes. So I'm very happy about that.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was just the little icebreaker for Nicole and Stephanie. This morning, I'm going to ask Nicole to introduce her book. If love had a heart. Just tell us the history behind this book. And there are many
Okay.
questions that I would love to ask after you answer that question. If love had a heart, go ahead, Nicole.
Yes. So this is my book. I have the copy here. Um, it's like I said before, it started when I was in high school. So very many years ago. Um, and at the time, there were persons who were suffering from HIV AIDS. There was very little known about it. There was a lot of panic and paranoia, and the government had started a campaign to educate people,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, about the disease, about the virus, so that they can understand how you get it. So we could stop marginalizing people, we could stop discriminating against people, we could stop treating our family members in such a terrible way. They had persons locked in rooms using just one cup or spoon, and it was horrible. So, and for me, as a teenager,
Drama.
I didn't fully understand everything, but all I could see was the suffering of these people. And I didn't like it. I didn't appreciate it. And I spent a lot of time putting myself in the position of someone else. Okay. So if it were me, I would have felt so bad. So I decided, you know what? Let's inject some love, and I
Mm.
started writing about these two teenagers that fell in love accidentally, and they needed to overcome the stigma, the discrimination. The male character, who is HIV positive, he had to be vulnerable, completely vulnerable, so that he could let someone else into his world
Mm.
without that fear that he had been living with for a very long time. Now, this book has been written and rewritten, and I have basically forced a lot of my friends to read several drafts. Um, it has taken me a very, very long time to get up the courage to publish my book. Yeah. Finally, I was able to do it. And it was, I thought that it would have been like a relief, like, oh my God, it's over. It's definitely not over.
Not over.
When I published it, I, even before anyone purchased a copy, I was simply exposed, just out there, because it is first person narrative as well. So what the character experiences, I am experiencing at the same
I
time,
realize
thinking and
that. Yes,
feeling
yes,
all of
yes.
these things. And it was just me for anyone to see. So that was pretty terrifying. But I also realized that there were more persons willing to read the final draft than the multiple drafts that I have
Right,
been
right,
offering
right, right.
over the years. I got a lot of support from my friends, from my family. Um, it was wonderful. At the end of the day, I am happy that I published. I am also aware that it had to happen how it happened. However, I would have still liked to have done this entire thing maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
15 years ago.
yeah, yeah.
I feel like there were so many other books I could have written in those 20
In time.
years.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, now books are just gushing.
Mm.
I
Yes.
I like to close my projects before I start a new project, but I have now several ideas running simultaneously, and it is a bit overwhelming. But at the start of this tour, this virtual book tour, I had agreed with myself that I was going to accept all possibilities. I'm going to stop saying no to
No.
everything, and just let whatever needs to happen
Flow. Yes.
happen. So that's where I am right now.
Yes. As you talk about so many books, there are books that I'm working on right now that the
Mhm.
very topic was given to me 21 years ago, right?
Wow.
I would have
Wow.
maybe written 2 chapters and I left it.
Mhm.
And then another time, 6 book will flow one time. Like I go into lockdown,
Mhm.
lock away from external things, and finish projects. And when that
Yeah.
project is over, I'll finish 6 books, but I don't launch them all at once. I use those
Mm.
books as manuals, as teaching tools, as a minister of the gospel. I so when I write, it is out of experience, it is out of revelation, and so I use it um, to uplift, motivate, and to give knowledge because I study a lot of world history.
Mhm.
At one time, persons was encouraging me to go into politics, but I didn't feel that call. I felt the
Mhm.
call to be in ministry and missions, and so to help people understand world history. So we might have the Bible, but it's a history book with a lot of world powers and a lot of change that if we see it from a political point of view, we will look at things so differently because it's a
Mhm.
history book. And so in that book, there's so much love stories. There are stories with people who had disease, who had to be put out of the camp. A
Mhm.
set of family could not travel. Their entire family, the 12 tribes, was held up when leprosy broke out in the camp,
Mhm.
almost like AIDS. So what you're saying, the stories are there.
Mhm.
However, for you, there are two girlfriends who seem to have uh, come from a rich parental background. Um, um, that particular character, that young girl who stole that car, um, where is she now? Where is she now?
Oh, you're talking about the very beginning of the book
Very beginning of the book.
where yes, that was the scene that launched Callie, who is the main character,
Yes.
into community service at the HIV hospital. The other character, her friend, she was sent away by her dad to
Hmm.
learn the value of nothing. So I she was sent away. I want to say I sent her away, but I didn't send her away. She had it coming. She was sent away to live in a community in Spain, where they live self-sustained, okay?
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
was where she met in in the second part of this book, you will meet her again when she comes back with her husband, Enrique. Okay. But she leaves the book and it's just Callie because what happened with that incident is that her dad got tired of all her shenanigans, sent her away, and now Callie was left alone and exposed because she would hide behind her best friend who was the life of the
Yes.
party. So now it's
Yes.
just her. It's just her. Okay. And she had to forge her own path then at that time, not in her friend's shadow, but just on her own. So the book
When I
opens.
when,
Mhm.
go ahead and
The
finish
book
what you were
opens
saying.
with all of this drama, but what I wanted was to propel her into this space where she needed to come into her own, okay, and not be a shadow of anyone else. Now the story was just hers.
Right. When I read the introduction, my thought, what message do you have for high school, especially female, who suffer from peer pressure and trying to be a part of the main crowd? What advice do you have for young people in that light?
I would say I'd love to simply say no. Okay. But when you're in the situation, it's quite different. All right. For me, when I was in high school, I didn't have a lot of peer pressure, or I didn't focus on it as much because I understood from my home. My mother used to tell me all the time, every tub have to sit down on it on a bottom. Everyone is responsible for themselves. Okay, so I was hearing that my entire life. So I cannot come home and say to my mother, "Oh no, I did this because," oh no, 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 that was not going to fly. So you have to be responsible for yourself. At the end of the day, who, or the person who's going to feel the consequences is just you. So you can follow your friend, but follow that person with eyes wide open. Don't just go away thinking, "Oh no, everything's going to be okay because she's going too." You don't know if you're walking the same path. So be very, very conscious of that difference and make responsible decisions. When you're young, it is a time to Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Hello, hello. Yeah. All right.
I'm hearing you. Yeah. Go ahead. All right. We have lost her for a little while. But it's a very interesting book as I began to read it. Um, there are quite a few nuggets that came from it. Um, in one of the introduction of the book, it says it is not always easy to know the right thing to do since the consequences of your actions are often felt in the future. Forbidden teenage love separates two innocent souls who struggle in a world of intolerance and ignorance. Can they overcome the challenges to find each other and themselves? If love had a heart, is their attempt to build bridges where barriers currently resides. And you would have heard that there is a background story uh, to persons who were living with HIV at the time and the stigmas that were attached to persons who have HIV AIDS. And so this morning, I want to dedicate a part of this conversation to persons out there living with HIV and have found true love. May love continue to grow. Over back to Nicole. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. So yeah, I was saying that you need to take control of your story. Okay? Be the author of your story. I used to tell my little brother, I said to him, being young, okay, because he's 19 years younger than me, being young, you can do a lot of things, and it is a time for you to explore and coming to your own and make mistakes, but don't make drastic mistakes. Okay? Be very aware of your
Mhm.
limits and reside within that. Do not be afraid to say no to anyone. Do not be afraid to say no. Sometimes you need to simply say
No,
no.
no.
I've seen a lot of persons get hurt because someone screams YOLO. I'm also quite ancient, so I'm still on
Go
YOLO.
ahead, go ahead, go
Okay?
ahead.
I I'm still on YOLO, but it's not enough. It's not enough. Persons have really hurt themselves just screaming YOLO, and for what? It's not worth it.
Not worth it.
So peer pressure will come, and that peer pressure does not leave you just because you get older and now you're an adult. Adults also feel peer pressure. Okay?
Keeping up
So
with the Jones.
yes, at some point you need to know who you are, find yourself, and understand this is not for me, that is not for me. And the sooner you do that, the happier you will be.
That
Yeah.
is true. That is true. Because right now, with social media and social media influencers, a lot of persons have switched from finding themselves to just
Hmm.
want to take up a career in social media and all these things. And it can have so much and no more, and you'd have missed all your skills and your talents, and doing that which you have been gifted to do from birth. So
Hmm.
I really think that insight is so true, that we need to find ourselves. All
Hmm.
right. So um were you able to physically um be a part of any of the uh AIDS awareness culture in your time? Were you able to physically be present and be a speaker? Were you able to have an impact there?
At that time, no. At that time, no. Because, like I said, I was just in high school. My
Right.
volunteering started when I was at UWI. Okay. And I love to volunteer. But no, I never went out and affected any amount of change then. What I have tried to do with my book is to ensure, as much as humanly possible, that the information that is there is as current as when it was published. And I also want, one of the reasons I write was to educate. I wanted persons to know how far we have come,
Mm-hmm.
how the advances that took place, the wonderful things that have happened. We don't need to be stuck there anymore. For the older generation, we will still feel that kind of, you can recoil from all things age, because that's how you were programmed
Programmed,
at
yes.
that time. Okay,
Right.
the younger generation will not be as opposed to
And
to
ignorant,
to
yes, yes.
exactly. The information is there. All I'm saying is educate yourselves. Okay, you can use my book as a launching pad. All right, but I want it just to be the I don't know, the little key that opens the door to everything else, because there's so much more to learn. I published this book during COVID, okay? And the research continued after that. So there is more to
Volume
be
2.
I'm actually working on book 2, and I want to keep putting more information out there. Um uh, but book 2 is going to be PG 18, or maybe PG 21. Yeah,
So I was
maybe
I was
PG
thinking
21.
I was thinking, do you uh ever interview a couple, like people who, though you wrote that book from your inspiration, but do you
Right?
interview persons who actually have had experienced what this character experienced, so the book will come alive at another level? Have you had any interview with real people who have gone through this? Have you?
I have plans to do a series of podcasts in October. I've spoken to medical professionals who are on the ground working with HIV/AIDS, and I've been able to speak to them on a very intimate level. However, for actual persons with HIV/AIDS, no, I have not. But I am hoping to be able to do that with my podcasts in October. I also encourage persons, if you have a story, please email me. Okay, you can contact me through my website, NicoleLittlejohn.com, and let me hear your story. I'm thinking about compiling a, doing a collection of real stories.
So that's what I'm
Okay,
seeing. That's
so
why I ask. Yeah,
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 so
yeah.
I want persons to shed the fear of rejection, really, okay, and tell their own stories. If you would allow me the opportunity to tell your story, I would be honored to do so. These characters are fiction. Like I said, I want them to be the start of a conversation that
Right,
we should
right,
continue
right.
for many years. Okay, until we're satisfied, I would say. Okay, but
Yep. The conversation.
I
Yeah, we need
have
to
not
have
had
that conversation. Yeah.
I haven't had the opportunity to speak to real people. The thing is, I when I was writing this book, I did not feel like I should tell anyone's story. But over time,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
thought process has changed. Okay. So if I am able to tell someone's story on whatever level, yeah, maybe I will do like a collection of individual stories, or maybe I will just do one story with multiple levels. I don't know yet. All right. But I would love
Mm.
to be able to, and if you even just want to say hi, you can email me anyway. I will respond. Okay. I love hearing critiques about my book as well, the good, the bad, the ugly. It doesn't matter. I find that feedback will help me as a writer to grow. So I am all for it. Okay.
Yes. Good constructive criticism is always good. Yeah. Because sometimes persons they are criticizing, but by the time they're finished, it can cripple you from
Hmm.
going forward if you're not mentally strong, especially if certain words are used, certain phrases are used that it's not part of my culture. Then you tend to, So I recently bought a book, and it is a story of a doctor who has had many failed relationships, and the book was so raw because she was telling exactly what happened to her. She told exactly how she responded to them, the things she said. So, as a pastor reading the book, I'm like, oh, the words are so strong. And I'm like, oh my God, I am reading, but I am calling out those what we call Jamaican bad words in my head because I'm reading everything that she's saying. So I was saying it to my son, oh my God, this book, it has a powerful story because from being left for nothing to now one of the first Jamaican billionaire, the story is real. But I was saying to my son, it is so strong. He said, Mom, it's the same in college. When we're reading some of these books that they give us, it has everything in there and you got to just read it. But worse, if you're asked to read out loud in class and you reach that word that you don't say, you have to just laugh over it or something because people are really expressing themselves and telling exactly what happened. So it's just like I'm in counseling and somebody come to me in the pastoral office and they're telling me the exact thing that the rapist said to them. And
Oh,
they are Christians, but they are repeating
wow.
because they want me to do exactly what the rapist said. I'm like, oh my God, but it's their story. And that's what the person said, you
Yeah.
know? So
And the words matter as well. The words matter. Okay? Words are so incredibly powerful. They matter. So for them to be pouring out their hearts, it's not easy for you to pour out your heart and still, I don't know, hide or try to no,
choose the
just
word.
yeah, just say it really, because that's what stays with you. Don't censor yourself. It's what stays with you. Oh wow.
So I was reading an immigration document recently for battered wives under this visa here in America called special immigrant for, battered spouse. And so the spouse had to tell immigration all that her husband did as the proof that she was not an American, he was, and he abandoned her, told her some very ugly things, and immigration wanted it as is. And my God, she's a Christian and she had to put word for word the entire scene as it happened, and the pastor had to read it, to vet the document. So I had to actually read her story, and I'm like, my God, we sometimes as pastors we are locked in a vacuum, and there's a real world out there. I am currently um working on finishing one of my pieces. You know what that piece is? It is dealing with stuff that regular people don't want to talk about, even say in the church. I'm pulling every major topic and I'm interviewing people with that story so that I can share it, because just like with the book, you were able to share the story of these characters. We have to make the story come alive, otherwise we are going to miss a whole generation, because we are not speaking their language. We are speaking English, but we're not speaking their language.
Hmm.
So we need to really bridge the gap. I wanted to introduce the book that is the freshest on the market that you have released. Tell us about the second book.
All right. So you are my entire plan. I don't even have a copy. Okay, not yet. It was released last Saturday the 12th in honor of my very good friend's birthday. I don't have a copy just yet, but it is set here in Chile. It's called You Are My Entire Plan. Okay. Also young adult romance. But it speaks to second generation immigrant who meets some very crazy, happy go lucky guy, and they are thrown together. Um, and my female character is incredibly logical. Okay, she's really smart, she knows who she is, she's very focused and determined, she has her future planned, all of that. And now this crash with this individual has thrown her into a kind of tailspin, and she has to allow herself to find love, okay, to be loved. She also has history with, I don't want to give away the entire book, but she has things that she also needs to get over based on her past
Yes.
relationship. Okay, so that also, I mean, even as a young girl, for many of us as young women, you would think, oh, 18, you're only 18. But things happen before that
Mm-hmm,
to
mm-hmm.
you that will also sour you at 18, at 17, at 16.
Marred,
Okay.
yep.
So for
Mm-hmm.
her, there are things that she also has to deal with before she can even accept this kind of crazy love. Okay. So I also was able to bring the characters to the south of Chile, which is amazingly beautiful. Okay. And if you ever have the chance to come and visit this wonderful place, I would definitely recommend it. Oh my God. So I brought them to the south. They also followed the path I took with my husband on our honeymoon. We went camping, okay? Which is, I know that's not the regular honeymoon type vacation, but for me it was the first time I ever went camping, and I had such a wonderful, rich experience seeing all of these beautiful places that you can't necessarily see in a five-star hotel.
The Garden of
So
Eden.
there are places in the south where you feel a greater connection to whatever you want to call, I don't know, the universe, God, however you want to phrase it. It's there where you can find silence, the silence that is within you. Oh my God, I would definitely recommend it. Okay,
Yeah,
so that's where I brought my characters. And this book, or You Are My Entire Plan, is not impossible love. Okay, it was more on the lighter side.
yeah, yeah,
So it's for entertainment, mainly, mainly, but it's a very nice read. Okay. um the language is simple. Also, the language for If Love Had a Heart is pretty simple, it's easy to understand. And I would also recommend it. I would recommend both books.
I noticed when we were traveling, especially in the airport, a lot of novels. Those are the lead thing that are sold. Have you tried to reach out even to Sangsters International Airport in Jamaica? 'Cause, it's good to start from your place of birth to get books
Hmm.
that book
Hmm.
in the airport. Yeah,
To
it's
be
yeah.
to be to be very fair, as a writer, the part of the process that I enjoy is just the writing.
Not the
Okay?
marketing.
Not the marketing. Not the marketing. I would love to have my book out there. I would love to have persons read my book, give me your feedback, all of that. That is the part that excites me. Okay? Actually getting it done. This virtual book tour, I would say, is the first big thing I have done for my book since writing it. My idea before the tour was just produce, publish, produce, publish, produce, publish. That was it, because that's the part that excites me.
Mm,
Yeah. Of course, I would love to have my books on every shelf as long as they're being read. Don't just buy it to put it down.
read, yeah,
Okay? I
yeah.
want it to be read. Yeah?
Yeah,
So I haven't looked into that just yet. Of course, I am also open to having someone say, hey, guess what? We can do this for you. I'm open to that. I'm very open to that.
yeah. Yes, one of the things for me, in my very early days when I started to publish, as far back as I think 2001, I released my very first book
Wow.
in 2001. I was, I think, second year in pastoral college, and the inspiration came to write my story to show that you can find love as a young person and be involved in uh, spiritual matters, being involved in the normal workplace, and taking that moral lifestyle, good morals, into your workplace to still represent your creator. So I shared my story from the call that I received, how the Lord directed me to my relationship, and then in that I shared, parts as it relates to money and marriage, because sometimes we marry for the wrong reasons. And it said when love is finished, when money diminish, the love will finish, so just listen to you know. Mine was not dubbed on a love story. It was more dubbed on finding that partner who helped to complete your assignment, and how you can find true love in a time when you were not even looking for love. Because I was like a rough little girl. I was very independent. At age 18, I was sitting in my own corporate office running a department. At age 19,
Wow.
thereabout, I was in charge of a desk. So independence found me very early. So men were intimidated by this level of independence. But when you open up, then love will find you. Nicole,
Mhm.
we are almost at the end of our lively, very interactive interview. Um, it is very good to hear your story, but I encourage authors as they write. Um, well, for me, I operate Turnbull Arts Publishing, where I take it from the first word to the published book. I did all of my books, and one day I just got this strong feeling, help others. And so I just
Mhm.
begin to open up, and persons begin to seek out for help. And what would have been thousands of dollars through renowned publishers, I taught them how to do it themselves,
Mhm.
things to do. So marketing, I encourage, I know you say it's not your thing, but nobody can tell it like you. I have sold more books personally than Amazon. I have I have gotten
Wow.
my copies from the publisher because I did not only use Amazon, I use live publishers, printers, publishers online,
Mhm.
and I was able to sold physically more books than online.
Wow.
When I travel to speak, have my book table, or I send my book ahead of me, it works.
Mhm.
So I would encourage you to personally order your books, ship them to key people
Mhm.
who can represent you, because it's good to have a marketing consultant and it's good to have all of that, but sometimes it's just a fancy name and all of that. But when you make
Mhm.
that direct connection word to mouth, because sometimes the book consultant have 100 book trying to promote, just like
Mhm.
Amazon in the feed you have to search for your name sometime because there is so many. But your marketplace, your friends and family first. They are your first promoters, and it will go like wildfire. It could
Yeah.
be a literature book for a university, based on the PG rating. It could be used as gifts for people with HIV/AIDS. It could go so far, and so we'll meet again where we focus
Mhm.
on HIV. We'll meet again where we focus on the health side of this book, that we
Mhm.
can target that audience, because we need to reach them. Health Department, World Health Organization will do so much, but when real stories hit Earth, it makes it much better, even for parents
Yeah.
to deal with their kids, because there are teenagers who come home with HIV positive, and it, many of the parents can't handle it. But when
Mhm.
we can teach them from a true life story, from
Mhm.
knowledge, from things on the ground, I believe it will, reach home. So your last words to your audience, those who are out there going to be watching the replay, I want you to give a word of encouragement to those people out there who have their story and need to release it. Share with
Mhm.
them. We go.
If you're writing a book, okay, if that is what your purpose is, do it. Someone is waiting for that book. Every book that you read before, someone had to make that leap so that you could be entertained, so you could be helped, so you could be reached. You now need to reach someone else. You have a responsibility to reach someone else. Your ideas, your thoughts, what you what you want to say, someone is willing to listen, someone is willing to read it, and you will never know how far it can go. Look at me, for example. Oh my God. Okay, I'm I'm here now after 20 years. I've realized like everything moved so quickly. I had so many persons around me already that were moving, just mobilizing themselves to help me with this tour. It has not been easy, but had I not published, I would never have known that. I had a very good friend say to me recently, she said, Nicole, take up as much space as possible. Okay. So all of these things are happening because I made the leap. It's not easy to get from point A, which is having the idea and then producing. It's not easy, but persons are there. They are willing to help you along that journey. Okay. A lot of it will have to be a solo act. You have to make
Mm-hmm.
time to write. You're not going to have extra time, especially if you're a parent. That doesn't exist. You have to make time to write. And also, writing and getting your story out there will help you. It's kind of, for me, it was therapy. Okay, it was a safe space. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I still enjoy it to this day. All right. So I would say to you, please do us a favor and publish your book. Do us a favor and publish your book. All right. And of course, like I said, if anyone would like to continue the conversation, if anyone would just like to say hi, please reach out to me, NicoleLittlejohn.com. You can find my email. Let me hear what you have to say. I also want to say a very, very happy birthday to my niece, Liana. Yeah, Liana Harvey. She's celebrating her birthday today. Hi. I just wanted to drop that in for her. She's a very, very wonderful and special girl. Yeah. But yeah, so do yourself the favor and get it done. Get it done because persons are waiting for your greatness.
Waiting.
Hmm. Hmm.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And if you are a writer and you need your book to be published, you can put your information in the comment box, and you can find me on Facebook at Stephanie Turnbull. I'll drop my information in the chat, and I'll be happy to work with you to do some consultations and to get your book out even in 30 days. If you have the book ready, it can be published. If it's edited, it can be published in days. It's not as how they make it look. Once you have everything ready, if you need covers to be designed, the whole 9 yards, you're able to be assisted at maybe less than 50% of the regular cost that you would normally have to pay to get a publisher, because you will be getting all the rights to your book, and you'll be able to share your story, and you'll be able to get all the royalties without no publisher taking 60% and giving you only 40%. You're able to get the full rights to that which you have spent hours and days and weeks to write.
Wow.
So I encourage you,
That's amazing.
write. Somebody is waiting on your story. Over the weekend, I was able to release two workbooks for one of my clients because I had a lot of
Oh,
backlog because I was doing a lot of ministerial work. And so every time this year, I take time out to go on a marathon before December to finish anything that I have not yet done. August, my second of August is my birthday. So I use my birthday as a marker to finish assignments. So
wow.
above me is a chart, and on it are some little post-it. I decided to just change up my backdrop. Some little post-it, and there's a blackboard up above, and on it, the first thing on it this morning was 11 a.m. StreamYard. Things to do for my son, things to do for my dog, things to do for my husband, things to do for the ministry, things to do for the Bible college I am the president of, things to do for a conference I'm planning, what I need to buy for the conference, anything I need to do, who I need to call, the books I'm working on, and the order. Because I said to myself, everything must flow. So if you're an author and you keep procrastinating, find time and treat the book as if you're in a corporate office, you're the CEO,
Mhm.
and that book is a document that the bank is waiting on. That, a matter of fact, Nicole, my very first book is currently at First Caribbean Bank Jamaica as my proof of income to buy my first house.
Wow.
So when I went to apply for the house,
Wow.
they asked, "What are your proof of income?" So I told them I was an author, and the loans officer asked me to bring a copy of the book because at that time I was full time in ministry, and
Hmm.
then I knew that the bank needed you to have at least 3 months pay slip. So I prayed to the Lord, and He led me to this company to apply for a job. At that time, I was in accounts. I applied, and the gentleman said, "Can you come to work on Monday?" Just like that,
Wow.
for an internal
Wow.
auditor position. I got the job. And so I had that 3 month pay slip, but they wanted other proof of income. And they,
Mm.
on the loans folder, a copy of the very first book, God Will Do It Again, is in the file as proof of
Wow.
income. I was saying to someone recently, they saw what I didn't see because they're saying if this book is only $1,000, 1 million copy of that is proof of income. So
Mm.
they saw the bigger picture. And you know what happened? I released that book before Amazon was around like this.
Mhm.
And so I just released what was on the ground. And I never reprinted. And that book just went like wildfire. But now I
Wow.
realize I was pretty young, 23 years old, just married. And so I kind of shifted my focus. But Nicole, if you look to my left, there are journals like I just write. I log
Wow.
my day, I log my week, I log the stories of my week so they can become a story in the future. To my right are current journals. One, two, three, four, five, six journals. I have compartmented
Wow.
my life so that depends on what God want me to release, I'll release it. So there's family stories,
Mm,
there's ministry stories, there is a planner. So while this is on the wall, I also have a planner that I go into and treat it as if there is a supervisor waiting on me for
mhm.
the document. So
Keep
I
the promises that you make to
yeah,
yourself.
yeah,
Keep those
yeah,
promises. Keep those promises. They are so hard. I would say that they might be even harder than the promises you make to other people because someone is waiting on you. A physical being is waiting on you. But
physical, yeah.
yourself is also waiting on you. When you made
You.
that promise has weight. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is where I'm at. That Stephanie, it's your story. You have to get out there and get it ready. So some are stories, some are teachings. God has given you this assignment. You're waiting on somebody to do it, or every time I delay, literally TG Jakes come up with a book with that same topic, or Joel Austin. I have books written and have not been published that those authors have published that exact title.
Mhm,
Believe me. And one day I was like, you know what I got? The revelation I got from the spirit? Ideas are floating every
mhm,
day.
mhm,
Ideas are floating every day. But it who will pick it up, run with it? Your idea is worth millions of dollars. So I went to a simple presentation and I looked at $500 gift was in US dollar was sent to my account. Now the book only cost $25. And one listener
mhm,
sent 500 US dollars without even buying a book. So out of good grace, I emailed a copy of the ebook as a complimentary to that gift just by sharing a story on my angelic encounter. Just by sharing a story for maybe a 30 minutes, open the
mhm.
door for financial blessings. Yeah. And so at that time, Nicole, when that blessing came, I needed 11,128 US dollars to
Wow.
clear a tuition. So can you imagine? You cannot short the institution $500. It's
No.
still short. Okay. And so a book I wrote was able to fill that $500 short for that day. So I'm saying to you, your book has wealth on it. Don't sit on it. You have
Mhm,
been with us in the conversation. I'm going to be playing the main song for the conversation now. I chose to wait until after the interview. I normally would play it at the beginning, but I'm going to play it at the end. And I want to say to you, thank you so much for being a part of the conversation this morning with Nicole Littlejohn and Stephanie Turnbull. It was our pleasure hanging out in the studios this morning. And I know I have been inspired by that which Nicole has brought to the room. And I know that there are more things we're going to be doing together as the weeks and the months progress.
Praise and thanks unto you, Lord.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. And so I wish you God's blessing. Um, I know there are many love stories that you have found love. And so, out of your experience, may you continue to be a blessing to other women out there. And may God bless you real good as you continue to share that true love is out there. God bless you. And just
Thank
wave
you.
goodbye to the listeners. Hallelujah. Blessings.
Bye, everyone.